So in the Thursday night game, Madden picked the 49ers to win. It's kind of hard to see, I know, but we both picked the 49ers, and the 49ers won, and that puts our records up by one. Those are our records shown right there. And we're going to hop into our first Sunday game, which is going to be between the Tennessee Titans and the Cleveland Browns. Both these teams at 1-1. Browns unfortunately losing Nick Chubb in that Week 2 game against the Steelers. So we'll see if they're still able to come out on top in this one. Titans, on the other hand, were able to come up with a Week 2 victory against the Chargers after dropping a Week 1 to the Saints. As right now, Madden has the Titans on top. And it looks like Madden thinks the Titans will easily beat the Browns 24-6. And yeah, that's what Madden says. But I say the Browns are going to win, and I think the score is going to be Browns 20, Titans 17. So obviously we'll have to see how this plays out when they actually play each other. But right now we'll just look through the stats real quick. 0 interceptions from Deshaun Watson and Ryan Tannehill. Only one rushing touchdown from King Henry himself. He had a pretty good day, 102 rushing yards. Receiving was a little lackluster, though. No one really took the game by storm. This was really more of a defensive performance from both teams, despite there not being any interceptions. It was just one of those games where not a whole lot happened, but this next game, I'm thinking a lot is going to happen. It's going to be between the Falcons and the Lions. Falcons still have yet to lose this year, so they're sitting pretty at 2-0. And the Lions losing a close one, a shootout to the Seahawks last week. And obviously the Lions want to get a win this week to put themselves in the positive win column once again. As right now, Atlanta, and they're tied. Atlanta's up by 7. And it looks like Madden thinks the Falcons are going to come away on top with a score of 24-17. While I could definitely see that happening, not a bad prediction, I do think the Lions are going to win this game. And so I guess that means me and Madden disagree. I think Lions are going to win 24-21. But I wouldn't be super surprised if the Falcons won in that fashion. So, not a bad prediction by Madden. The last one left a lot to be desired, though. So, looking at the stats, Desmond Ridder, Dave Montgomery having rushing touchdowns. Not a lot of running the ball, despite the two teams liking to run the ball a whole lot. They got Jahmyr Gibbs on the Lions and Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier on the Falcons. So, I expected a little more rushing yards. 2 interceptions. And it was one by each quarterback, I'm pretty sure. I don't know. You'll have to fact check me on that if you're really curious about that. Okay, our next game is going to be between the Saints and the Packers. Another game where it's NFC South versus NFC North. And just like the previous one, Saints are undefeated and the Packers are 1-1. And we'll see what Madden thinks is going to happen in this game, as the Packers trying to rebound from last week after blowing a lead against the Falcons. As it looks like Madden thinks the Saints are going to win in a surprisingly high-scoring game, 31-28 Saints in this one. I do not think that's going to happen, so it looks like me and Madden are going to be disagreeing a lot this week, because I have the Packers winning this one, and I think it's going to be way low-scoring than that. I don't think this is the game to be a shootout, as I think it'll be 17-10, and that's like 3 disagreements in a row between me and Madden. So I don't know what the hell's going on with Madden this week, or maybe it's me. I don't know. We'll have to see when the games are all played and how the records are implicated. As looking at rushing the ball, there was a lot of rushing in this game. And receiving, not a lot. Despite the high score, it was really more just running the ball than anything. And defensively, there were 2 interceptions, both by Jordan Love. But it didn't matter because never mind, it did matter because they lost. I'm an idiot. Okay, next game is Broncos and Dolphins, and the Broncos are 0-2, and they look pretty bad, and the Dolphins are 2-0, and they actually look really good. And we'll see what Madden thinks is going to happen in this game. As right now, Denver is up 7-3. Now they're not. Now they're down 10-7. And it looks like the score is just going to remain like this for a while. Broncos do score to make it a 4-point lead. But the Dolphins have something to say about that, as they'll score 16 unanswered points. and make this a final score of Dolphins 26, Broncos 14. And I agree. I see no way the Broncos win this game. I think the Dolphins are going to win this one. I think it's going to be 38-10. I think the Broncos are going to get smacked. They look terrible. But I digress. Not going to rant about them today, as we'll just take a quick look at the stats here. Rushing, not a whole lot of rushing, which, I mean, Raheem Mostert had a good game, but no one topped 100 yards. Receiving-wise, Tyreek Hill led, it looks like, and he only had 76 yards, which, I mean, that's not bad, but that's not game-taking, going to take over a game most of the time. But obviously, it did enough in this game because they won. All right, our next game is a game that I'm actually really excited for, Chargers and Vikings. Both these teams are surprisingly 0-2, despite how deadly their offenses are, which, I mean, their offenses haven't been the problem, it's their defenses. Just because the Vikings keep allowing a lot of points against the Eagles and the Bucks, and the Chargers, they lost a shootout in week 1, and they kind of lost control of the game in week 2. And we'll see what Madden thinks. It looks like the Chargers are going to blow out the Vikings 31-13, which that's going to be the final score in Madden. And that's definitely a bit of a surprise. I think this game would be a little closer, right? Both these teams have good offenses and bad defenses. I think the Vikings would score a little more points. I actually think the Vikings will win 38-35 just because I think they're a little less turnover prone than the Chargers, despite what their game was like in week 2, because that was pretty bad on their part. But I just think they've got a little more firepower on offense than the Chargers do, and their defense isn't as bad as the Chargers has been. So that's why I think the Vikings are going to win. As receiving, Gerald Everett leading in receiving. Defensively, Alohi Gilman, there's no way anyone knows who that is, has got an interception in that game, and it proved to not really matter because the Chargers still won by like 18 points. But this next game is going to be between the Patriots and the Jets, an AFC East clash. Patriots looking for their first win. Jets are sitting at 1-1. And we'll see what Madden thinks is going to happen. Patriots haven't lost to the Jets since like 2015 or something like that, because they just own the Jets or something. Bill Belichick just knows how to beat the Jets. And it looks like Madden thinks otherwise, as the final score of this one's going to be 31 Jets, 17 Patriots. As I guess that might have something to do with the fact that Bill Belichick isn't in Madden. Maybe that's why the Jets actually beat the Patriots, because there's no way in hell that I think the Jets are beating the Patriots. I think Patriots win this one 2017, just because I don't see any way Zach Wilson is going to lead a win against the Patriots. As Madden thinks otherwise, as he had actually a pretty good game, 272 touchdowns and no picks, rushing the ball. And Dalvin Cook led, but he only had 54 yards, so this is really more of a pass-heavy game, as Mecole Hardman and Juju Smith-Schuster had solid games, as did Hunter Henry and Garrett Wilson. And I didn't expect this game to be like that, where the Jets win by 14 points, but Madden has its own mindset of what's going to happen, I guess. All right, our next game is going to be between the Bills and the Commanders. Bills are 1-1 after dropping one of the Jets in week 1. Commanders, surprisingly to a lot of people, are 2-0 because they beat the Cardinals in week 1 and the Broncos in week 2. And they're 2-0, and that's definitely a shock to me, and I'm sure to a lot of other people as well, as it looks like the Bills have something to say about it, as they're up 27-7, and it looks like that's going to be the final score, as I do think the Bills will win, but I do think I think the Commanders will put up more of a fight than what they did in this game, because a 20-point loss, I don't see that. I think it's going to be close. I think the Bills will still win, but I think it'll be 35-28 Bills. As passing the ball, it looks like Josh Allen, I mean, he didn't do bad, but he didn't do like great either. Sam Howell actually didn't do great. A touchdown and 2 picks, definitely costly in this game. Just because, turnovers against a team like the Bills with a great defense is just not going to cut it. You could probably say the same about the Commanders, but the Bills didn't really turn the ball over, so they didn't have to worry about it. As receiving the ball, I just looked at that. Defensively, Matt Milano, of all people, had 2 interceptions. He's a linebacker. That's why that's surprising to me. All right, our next game is going to be between 2 AFC South teams, in the Texans and the Jags. A rookie quarterback in CJ Stroud versus Trevor Lawrence, who's been coming into his own these past couple of games, as he's definitely in that top 10 conversation of quarterbacks. As we'll look at the game here so far, Madden thinks that the Jags are going to win, and it's going to be 17-10. And yeah, I mean, I could see that. I mean, it's a division game, so you could definitely realistically say this game could be close, just because the divisional opponents are going to play each other more aggressively than other teams, just because the games matter that much more. But yeah, I do think the Jags will win. 30-20 is what I said, if you wanted to look and see that. As we'll just quick look through the stats here. It looks like there were 0 rushing yards in this game. And there were two receiving touchdowns from Calvin Ridley, who randomly got injured in the game. Hope he's okay. And the other one was by a Texan, but it wasn't quite enough for them to get the W, as the Jags will come out on top 17-10. As our next game is going to be between the Colts and the Ravens, as the Colts are 1-1 and the Ravens are 2-0, so the Ravens haven't lost yet. Colts looking to change that, so we'll see what they do here. I have heard that Anthony Richardson is not going to play in this game. Madden will probably still put him in the game, but there is a possibility that he's not playing, because I saw things when I was looking around on the internet that he wasn't playing, and I guess that doesn't really matter if he's plays or not, because the Ravens still beat the shit out of the Colts 31-0. And it looks like either if you have Anthony Richardson or Gardner Minshew, whoever you have, the Ravens just said, well, we'll still kick your ass regardless. As I think it will be 24-17, just because these two teams like to run the ball a lot. And usually when you run the ball, that's a pretty common score. And it looks like Anthony Richardson did play, but he didn't play too good, as he had 1 interception, 0 touchdowns, and a pretty horrendous QBR. Receiving, Zay Flowers had a really good day, but other than that, no one else really had a great receiving day. And defensively, 1 interception by Arthur Mollett, never heard his name before. As we'll hop into our first 4 o'clock game, it's going to be between the Panthers and the Seahawks. Panthers at 0-2, looking for their first victory. Seahawks at 1-1. And this is another game where Bryce Young, he's not playing in real life, but Madden's probably still going to include him in this. So we'll see what kind of impact that has on this game. As right now, Carolina up by 14. And it looks like the Seahawks are struggling to get in the end zone as they kick another field goal, but that's not going to be enough, as the Panthers will hang on for a score of 14-6. Very low scoring game. As, I don't know, I mean, I think the Seahawks got this one just because it's just 27-17. I just think they're a better team than the Panthers. I mean, even if they have Bryce Young, I still don't think they're going to win. And I don't think they're going to have him. And Madden obviously is not going to update the roster for me because it's Madden. But what you going to do? Just got to work with what we got. As there were 2 receiving touchdowns by DJ Chark and Hayden Hurst, as I do think both of them are expected to play. And defensively, Bobby Wagner got an interception on Bryce Young, but it wasn't quite enough to get the victory because the Seahawks offense kind of struggled in the game. As our next game is going to be between the Bears and the Chiefs. Bears at 0-2 looking for their first dub. Chiefs got their first dub last week against the Jags to move to 1-1. And we'll see what Madden thinks about this game. I mean, it's 2 quarterbacks that are pretty mobile, and I don't see any way the Bears win this game, but I mean, Madden could make some bold prediction that they are. No, I didn't think so. Chiefs winning this one 27-13 in Madden, and I agree. I think the Chiefs will win, but I think it'll be more like 28-13 or something like that. I actually don't remember what it was. It'll show up in a second. Yeah, 28-13. I altered the score by 1 point just because I do agree that the score is going to be like that, because Justin Fields, man, he just has not looked very good in his first 2 games this season. He's just been standing in the pocket for way too long, and the Bears coaching just hasn't really been doing him any favors. As receiving, Sky Moore and DJ Moore both having days. So I guess if your last name's Moore in this game, you had a good game. But other than that, there wasn't really much to say about this. Tyreek Stevenson, Trent McDuffie, and Nick Bolton all got picks. So if you're on defense and you're those guys, you're probably like, hey, I got a pick. But our next game is going to be between the Cowboys and the Cardinals, and Cowboys are winning this. I see no way the Cardinals win this one, and usually I don't say it before the simulation is, but I mean, this one's just like a very obvious one. So the Cardinals just don't have a lot of talent on their roster, and the Cowboys do, and the Cowboys have been playing really good. And now the score is up 35-3, 42-3. Yeah, this is definitely not shocking to me, as I definitely agree that the Cowboys are going to win, and I think it will be something in this fashion, except I think the score is going to be 45 Cowboys, 10 Cardinals. I think the Cardinals will at the very least get a touchdown. But, I mean, yeah, we'll have to see what happens in real life. Passing the ball, Dak Prescott had a really good day. 30 for 39, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Josh Dobbs, not so much, as he couldn't get his team into the end zone in one drive. Rushing the ball, Hunter Lupke, whoever that is, had 2 rushing touchdowns. Tony Pollard led the game in rushing yards. Receiving touchdowns, Cowboys had 4 because Dak had 4. Brandon Cooks and Michael Gallup had 100-yard days. So the Cardinals defense really struggling this game as well as their offense. And definitely about what I'm going to expect for that game. But right now we're going to head to Sin City to talk about Steelers and Raiders. And both these teams are at 1-1, and both teams looking to get their second victory. And I think this game's going to be pretty low scoring just because both these offenses have looked iffy. And their defenses, the Steelers' defenses look good. Raiders' defense, no, not really. It's like kind of what you would expect. As right now the score is 20-20, so higher scoring than I would have thought. And it looks like Madden thinks the Raiders are going to steal this one from the Steelers in overtime with a score of 26-20. My bad. They scored a touchdown. I didn't see that. And actually, no, I don't think that's going to happen. I think Steelers got this one 14-10. But we'll look and see what Madden thinks the stats are going to be like. Jimmy G had an all-right day. He had a pick, but other than that, he was pretty solid. Kenny Pickett didn't even have a bad day either. As rushing the ball, those are the people who had rushing touchdowns. Josh Jacobs had 110 rushing yards. Receiving touchdowns, George Pickens and Michael Mayer had receiving touchdowns. Jacoby Myers leading everyone in receiving yards. Behind him, Hunter Renfrow and Allen Robinson. And defensively, Minkah Fitzpatrick able to pick off Jimmy G, but not quite enough to win the game. As will happen to our first Monday night game, which is going to be between the Eagles and the Bucks. 2 teams that are both 2-0, both want to move to 3-0, but obviously only one team can do that. And we'll see what Madden thinks is going to be the result of this game. As right now, Bucks up 14-7, and now they're up 21-7, as it's looking like the Bucks are going to get this one. Now they're up 28-7. Eagles got to move up their offense or something if they're going to win this game, as they score a touchdown, but it's nowhere near enough to win this game, as the Bucks will take this one 28-14. And that's another game with Madden where I don't agree. I think the Eagles got this one, and I think it'll be closer too. 23-20 is what I think it's going to be. as me and Madden, we've had like a shit ton of disagreements. So this is really going to impact what our records are going to be at the end of this. Because one of us is going to be super wrong. The other one's going to be super right. Is Baker Mayfield had a really good day. 3 touchdowns, no picks. Coke Hyped and DeAndre Swift had rushing touchdowns. D. Swift led in rushing yards, receiving touchdowns. Mike Evans, Cade Otton, and Olamide Zaccheaus had receiving touchdowns. And Mike Evans led in receiving yards. And defensively, Ryan Neal able to pick off Jalen Hurts. And obviously it made an impact because they only won by 3. As our final game is going to be a rematch of the Super Bowl a couple years ago between the Rams and the Bengals. And I will see what Madden thinks is going to happen in this game. Bengals are 0-2. They've struggled, surprisingly to some people. And the Rams surprising people in a good way. They're 1-1, and they've been playing solid football. They got an emerging wide receiver who's definitely been helping them play good offense, as it looks like the Bengals are kind of trying to make me look stupid as they crush the Rams 41-17. Obviously, probably still mad over the Super Bowl. And that's what Madden thinks is going to happen. And once again, we have another disagreement because I got the Rams in this one. They've looked better than the Bengals, and I think they'll win this one 24-20. And we'll look at the stats here for one final game. And it looks like Joe Burrow had a day. Matt Stafford wasn't terrible, but he was no match for Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Joe Mixon had 2 rushing touchdowns. And receiving, T. Higgins had 3 receiving. Puka Nacua and Jamar Chase each had 1. And Jamar Chase and T. Higgins had over 100 yards. And Tyler Boyd, man, the Bengals are angry. They want this. It looks like they want this win more than the Rams do if they're playing like this. As Ahkello Witherspoon did pick off Joe Burrow, but nowhere close to being enough, as the Bengals still won by several scores. But yeah, that's going to do it for week 3 of Sam vs. Madden. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you made it this far, I appreciate your time watching this video. And I will see you all in my next video, which might be week 4 or a power rankings or something like that. But until then, I will see you all in my next video.